Can a simple piece of steel change the course of modern Formula One? How dangerous is Ferrari's innovation really for the balance of power in 2026? Because if the rumors are true, several teams are very, very worried. It all started with a rumor in the corridors of Maranello. Then it was confirmed with a roar that passed through the walls of the test bench. Ferrari had fired up the game-changing engine for 2026 for the first time. But it wasn't just a new power plant, it was a declaration of technological independence. Unlike the rest of the paddock, which opted for safe and evolutionary routes, Ferrari opted for something disruptive, redesigning the thermal architecture of the heart of the car. The key piece of this revolution is the use of alloy steel cylinder heads instead of traditional aluminum. To the untrained eye, it may seem like a minor detail, but in the hypersensitive universe of Formula One, where weight, thermal dissipation, and fatigue resistance dictate success or failure, this decision is comparable to changing the language in which engine physics is written. For decades, aluminum has been the standard for its lightness and good thermal conductivity, but it also has a limit. Ferrari decided that those limits were no longer acceptable. Steel, although heavier, offers much higher thermal and structural resistance. This allows it to operate at higher combustion pressures in more extreme temperatures and do so without losing integrity. The goal is not just increase power, but sustain thermal stability in racing conditions that push every cubic millimeter of the engine to the limit. This change was neither impulsive nor romantic. It was the product of a meticulous collaboration between Ferrari's internal team, led by Enrico Gualtieri, and external experts such as the Austrian firm AVL. The first versions of these cylinder heads failed in durability. In fact, for months Ferrari worked in parallel on an alternative version with aluminum, in case steel turned out to be unviable. But it wasn't, because quietly, Ferrari was also developing a solution that eliminated steel's biggest problem: its weight. The answer was metal additive manufacturing, an advanced form of 3D printing that allowed internal components to be designed with geometries impossible to achieve using conventional techniques. Internally, the cylinder heads have strategic cavities, intelligent reinforcement zones, and structures that maximize heat transfer only in the areas that need it. The end result, a more robust component, capable of resisting more thermal cycles without a significant mass penalty. That is to say, Ferrari built a stronger, more resistant, and almost as light piece. And this is not just theory. The dynamometric bench in Maranello has replicated complete race simulations in extremely demanding conditions. The leaked internal reports don't simply show progress, they show a radical improvement in thermal efficiency. This directly translates into more horses available for longer, without the need to alter the energy flow allowed by the regulations. While other teams tinker with the margins, Ferrari is attempting to redesign the very fundamentals of engine performance. But there is something even more provocative in this bet: the regulatory context. Starting in 2026, engines will have to coexist with a much more restricted energy flow, a greater dependence on the electrical part, and the elimination of the MGUH. This requires the internal combustion block to be more efficient than ever. And that is exactly where Ferrari believes it has its greatest advantage. While the others are betting on interpreting the regulations, Ferrari is attacking it from its technical roots. This earthquake is not perceived only in the data. It is perceived in the hallways, in the faces of rival engineers, in the whispers that have begun to fill the paddock. Because everyone understands the same thing. If this solution works on the track as it does on the bench, Ferrari is not only back. Ferrari will be ahead. The roar of Ferrari's new engine didn't just shake the walls of Maranello. The shock wave crossed the entire paddock like a warning signal. Since the first technical specifications of Project 678 were leaked, the engineering departments of rival teams were forced to rethink everything they thought they understood about the 2026 development window. What seemed like a season still far away on the calendar suddenly became a race against time. But not for power, for competitive survival. The history of Formula One is full of innovations that seemed absurd at the time, until they won championships. The Braun GP double diffuser, the Mercedes DS system, McLaren's F-duct. Each of these solutions broke with what was established, and each one provoked the same initial reaction: rejection, doubt, suspicion. Today, Ferrari steel joins that list, and with it, fear has returned to the paddock. The most senior engineers know how to read the signs. When a team like Ferrari presents a radical solution, not as an experiment, but as a central bet, the other teams stop looking forward and start looking sideways. They look for points of comparison. They ask quietly. They call their suppliers. And the question is always the same. Are we falling behind? At Red Bull, the concern is multi-layered. Since its internal fracture in 2024, the team has lost structural solidity. The replacement of Liam Lawson by Yuki Tsunoda after only 2 Grands Prix is not just a sporting issue. It's a sign of panic, an admission that the structure no longer tolerates long-term development. The RB21, while fast in certain conditions, is struggling to find consistency. And the most serious thing, Max Verstappen no longer hides his frustration. His entourage has made it clear that if he does not see a competitive car by 2026, he will look for other options. Mercedes, meanwhile, experiences a paradox. His progress in 2025, with George Russell and the young Kimi Antonelli, has been notable. The W15 shows signs of recovery. But Wolff and his team know that the real test is in the next technical cycle. They are betting on a less aggressive, more balanced regulatory interpretation. Its philosophy remains focused on reliability. But as Ferrari takes calculated, scientifically backed risks, the inevitable question resurfaces. Will playing it safe be enough? Wolff has quietly begun a restructuring of its materials department with the goal of evaluating steel-like technologies in critical areas of the engine. At Aston Martin, the pressure is silent but constant. Honda cannot fail. Returning as an official motorcyclist is full of expectations. Lawrence Stroll demands immediate results, and Fernando Alonso is not going to wait forever. The Green Team is clear that its success in 2026 will depend on what happens at Sakura, where Honda is evaluating possible adaptations to its base design. Steel is on the table. The problem is time. Implementing a complete structural redesign at this point would mean throwing away months of development. Audi, on the other hand, faces its worst-case scenario. Newcomers without recent experience as a motorcyclist, without results on the track to support their project, and now seeing how Ferrari raises the technical bar even before the first race of the new era. The Newberg team has entered a state of deep review. Technicians have been sent to Maranello under informal cross-observation agreements. AVL, the partner that helped Ferrari with the thermal resistance simulations, is now receiving similar requests from Germany. The urgency is maximum. They cannot afford to debut with an obsolete engine. Even at McLaren, the most consistent team since 2024, the alarms have gone off. Current success does not guarantee anything in 2026. Andrea Stella knows this. Therefore, while Lando Norris leads the championship and Oscar Piastri is solidly behind him, the technical team has begun to redirect resources towards an in-depth audit of the cylinder head concept. Although they depend on Mercedes as a supplier, Woking wants to ensure that what is an advantage today does not become a structural limitation tomorrow. In this context, the FIA has also come under pressure. The letters from Ferrari, Honda, and Audi are not just complaints. They are warnings. If the technical clarity of the regulations is not reinforced, the 2026 season could begin with an advantage for those who have interpreted the gaps more boldly. The FIA, for now, remains silent. But the precedent is there. It already happened in 2009. It already happened in 2014. It already happened in 2022. When innovation precedes consensus, championships are decided before the first traffic light goes out. The paddock has entered a state of chronic tension. It's no longer just about being fast. It's about being the first to understand what others are only beginning to question. Ferrari has done it. And although no one can guarantee today that its steel engine will dominate the next era, one thing is certain. It has forced everyone to look back, to review their plans, to ask themselves if they are ready. There are moments in the history of Formula One when a single move alters the course of the entire championship, even before a single wheel rolls on the track. Ferrari's Project 678 is not simply a new engine. It is a symbol, a physical manifestation of the spirit that has always moved this category, the insatiable desire to go beyond the limits. The introduction of steel cylinder heads could be seen by some as an unnecessary risk, for others as premature genius. But regardless of the perspective adopted, the truth is that it has caused a chain reaction. The entire paddock has been forced to rethink its certainties, to review its plans, to look again at each line of its design sheets with a doubt in its head. Have we been too conservative? This is the true power of disruptive innovation. It doesn't need to work right away. You don't need to win races on the first day. Its deepest effect is mental, is sowing uncertainty in rivals. It forces each team to ask themselves if their comfort zone is pushing them to the back of the field without even knowing it. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.